and welcome to the NXT review. We are the Dadley Boyz of WhatCulture. I'm Adam Wilborn, joined by Michael Hamflett and Michael Sidgwick, here to review everything that happened on last night's episode of NXT. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Where we do daily wrestling podcasts where we not only review the show formerly known as NXT 2.0, AEW Dynamite, AEW Collision, pay-per-views, premium live events. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a roundup of the week complete with a mega quiz, of course, on WrestleCulture. As I said, they're joined by Hamflett to review the new look NXT 3.0.
Massive failure, wasn't it? Massive.
Disagree.
Maybe this speaks to the standards of the year. This was the worst episode of NXT this year, comfortably.
Jesus Christ.
It was the worst crowd this year.
Yeah, bad crowd, I'll give you that, yeah.
At a building that I adore.
What was it?
The Alls State Arena.
But yeah, terrible episode. Like the worst case scenario rollout for me. They have tried to do a...
Like best.
Do a takeover style event rather than just your standard NXT. Well, that's your first mistake, right? Why mess with perfection? And the takeover, the point of the takeover format that people rightfully, in my opinion, deify is that the quality just seemed to get better and better and better as the matches went along, and they were like booked and arranged and all that, and it was like they put the pressure on the main event. It was the abridged old Ring of Honor formula of go out there and try and steal the show, and every match would do it, and kind of only one even approached that level on the show.
No.
Just boring under delivery of a non-event when it was supposed to be like the biggest night of the year.
Adam Wilborn, I'll give the listeners and the viewers my take. I actually want yours. I want you to justify it. Okay.
Okay.
This was bad, and I echo Hamflett's. I don't know who this was for, and ultimately,
I know one guy and he's got a big f***ing nose, and his name is Paul Triple H Levesque.
Yeah. I was left with my feeling was, if I'm doing my objective analyst bit, which I can do, was this is pretty untenable as a touring concern. One, they had some of that. Well, this is the thing in terms of talent. They put some really talented or over wrestlers out there. If you look at someone else or like some of the others who didn't really get the matches last night, like what's Lexis King going to do in an arena full of people? I mean, he's been in AEW. I've seen it. Not much. The whole sort of structure of the show is so backstagey and so skit-based that it just won't really carry over to the live arena. Evidently, they didn't even try. They would have realized what a weird, awkward mishmash this would have been. So they're better off as this sort of studio-based. It's weird. It almost sounds sacrilegious.
You got what you wanted, sis.
Yeah, that's studio-based, but it's like backstage.
Yeah,
it's like the performance center and like the lives of the wrestlers in it growing is fundamental to the fabric of NXT. Like watching people progress and evolve and interact. It's like a frat, basically. It doesn't. This cannot exist in the live context in the way that NXT, as you know it, has done previously, and it cannot be this touring concern because the level of wrestling isn't good enough across the roster. And to be fair, that's fine. I mean, it's developmental. It is developmental. This is just really, really boring. I think what works to varying degrees, I'm personally not that hot on them, but there's been some matches that have really worked in the live setting on these sort of big PLEs where they've toured it. There's an element of surreal, but isn't it quite cool for someone who I really genuinely like Duke Hudson, who's grafted his arse off, he's discovered a character that is connected, and he just puts the whole bit behind it. I like Duke Hudson as an example. Watching Chase U do stuff in an arena on a PLE, it's quite cool. Like, it's almost, if I saw that, him doing the Dusty stuff in front of fans 4 weeks in a row and they don't really care, it would just be almost tragic. It would be almost tragic. It just doesn't work in front of fans at all. And there were matches on this show, or rather a match on this show that I had high hopes for, and it was just not very good. Why did you love it?
I enjoyed all the show. We had a really good time watching it. I get it, maybe didn't hit the heights that some were expecting, especially that opener, but I think that justified the result. I think you had a big return in it. That's exciting, and where we can go from here is really exciting. The street fight, don't know why everyone was so down on that going into it. It was class. That was really enjoyable. You had cinema hype for the biggest match next week.
Here it is.
Well, I asked you beforehand, and you told you didn't pick up on the cinema that they dropped. Yeah. So I'll hide that for the people who weren't paying proper attention. You had the women's tag team champions making the save for one of the hottest new stars in NXT, and then you had a brilliant crowning in the main event. What's the problem? I don't see what everyone's got a problem with. Cheer up, everyone.
I was going to say, ask like 6,500 people because they were sat on the hands.
Oh, I get, yeah, and I will say that the crowd were not to the level I was hoping for.
To a damaging effect.
It was like 7,000 in there by the end.
To a really damaging effect. Like, countless wrestlers, not just CM Punk, call this their favourite building to work in for the heat it generates, for the fact that it's Chicago's a wrestling city, all that sort of stuff. Even a spoiled wrestling city like Chicago tends to come out for these big shows across AEW and WWE. It seems like the unkillable town, even if the crowds get a bit smaller. You cannot ever kill that town. NXT nearly did last night. These fans in attendance have maybe gone to see CM Punk and get the free pizza. They don't know these wrestlers, or it didn't feel like they did. It didn't feel like they were invested. NXT has done a really good job of setting up these 2 weeks of TV, a really good job. As they typically do, the PLEs, when they put them in these bigger buildings, and then you see I've said it to you before, like the Trick Williams stand and deliver entrance is one of my favourite moments of the year because it's like, this is a big arena act and it's getting its first big arena. This is kind of exhilarating. That should have been all across last night's episode, and it was nowhere near. Like, there was so many acts that felt lesser than through being in one of the dream buildings as opposed to the weird performance centre universe that they occupy. Because it is developmental. Like, Sidge is right to flag it up. I always appreciate his honesty when it comes to NXT and giving these kids a chance. And like, it is a development. It is a developmental brand in the way that it kind of always should have been, despite the warping of it in the Wednesday night wars. It's been back where it needs to be, and that is probably one of the reasons why it's been able to grow and why Shawn Michaels has had an easier sort of run of things, because he's not in this ratings war, or nobody's...
You had to move because of hockey, didn't they? Yeah, I remember.
Nobody's under any sort of false pretenses of what the show is for at this point. So Shawn can just develop, can take risks. Things can go horribly and embarrassingly wrong in some cases, and it doesn't matter. This felt like it was this almighty step back because it made you feel like, well, what's the work you've been doing actually for? Like, I wanted to see...
Oh, hang on. It's a bit of a eureka moment here where the wrestlers training to be wrestlers are going to have wrestling matches. And
because they go to Raw and they're all goated 100% of the time. Like, Lara Valkyria has a good run. Ilya Dragunov has
she was
run.
always good, though. Ilya Dragunov.
He's had a brilliant run.
Yeah, I know that dickhead. He's been in Germany for 10 years.
No. He started in NXT UK for a few
months.
Shut
up, man.
No, but
Tiffany Stratton is good.
Tiffany Stratton, like the
Ron Break.
Yeah, it's a way better and more effective system than it was. Way better.
But that's like...
And like... I don't know, maybe pairing them against one another rather than, you've got like Roxanne Perez, Julia's never wrestled before, so maybe this stage is too soon.
No, we're doing this, are we?
No, we're not doing it. But
look at you laughing your head off.
I don't know. I felt wrong from the off, this did. Like, I had a real, bad feel. We talk about the 5-star match within sort of the first minute, and it's like a relief and it washes over you. I had the reverse effect about the entire show. Pretty much when DX turned up, I was like,
big nose arsehole.
Yeah.
I loved it. I was nice to see him getting a bit of the spotlight for once. Show opens with Shawn Michaels, quite rightly.
Can't do this.
Opening the show.
Welcome. See why the exec producing at the end? Paul Levesque, Lee Fitton, Shawn Michaels. Where's Hickenbottom? It was shooting, pal. Where's Michael Hickenbottom?
It's pathetic, considering I don't believe...
Where's Ava's not as well?
Where's Ava?
Don't believe for a minute that Paul Levesque has become... Because his NXT book was always quite wrestling forward and basic. He does telly now. He does telly. It's not cinema, it's telly. I know there are writers there. Why don't they get credited?
Yeah.
Because you then have to unionize and give them the benefits and the attendant benefits. It's a joke, that, by the way.
Yeah.
And the socialist within you should come out more on that.
I've told you before, man. Just liking wrestling full stop is my toxic trait. I'm allowed one. It's the business.
Oh, I'm allowed one. Oh, everything else I do, I'm a knight in shining armor. I'm allowed one to... Got loads, man.
And it's a business.
You got loads?
I do. I hate dogs. I hate dogs and a lot of people.
So Shawn Michaels opens the show.
Increasingly more people than I used to hear. I was always such a patient person. It's just run out of time.
Have I infected you?
Yeah, you've corrupted me.
I've corrupted him. Yes, correct.
Sorry, Wilbon. We must get to Generation X.
Yes, Shawn welcomes the boys and girls to the premiere episode of NXT on the C-Dub. Says, what better place to have it than the Windy City of Chicago. Can't have a new network without new championship titles. He unveils them.
He doesn't really. He stands in front of them. I was like, what are you doing, Shawn? Are you really taking your eye off the ball there?
Keep an eye on that camera, mate.
He says, men and women will make history tonight. Thoughts on the titles quickly?
Not as nice as the old ones. There's a short answer.
I like that iridescent effect.
Yeah, it was lovely. Like
Very UFC, I thought. Sort of
the new ones.
Yeah, they're striving for legitimacy down there in NXT.
Sent you
real
a message.
shooters.
Like, nothing is performative on these podcasts, ever.
Shut up, man.
Hang on. Nothing is performative on these podcasts. As proof of that, I sent you in our WhatsApp group last night when the new logo dropped.
Which is, people can see, of course.
Like, I had a bad feeling in my stomach about where the direction is. That would mean something was good. When you drop in the Charlotte, you're like, oh, something's awesome's happening. Like, Tony Khan's tweeting something he's going to regret. Save that for special occasion. No, straight away I saw the logo. I was like, get out of here, Paul.
Yeah, we're in trouble.
Leave, Paul.
And don't ever come back.
What did I say? What was my immediate reply when I saw this?
I can't remember what was it.
Needs more cum splatters was my
Yes,
response.
it was.
He was right. Paul showed it.
But before the show begins, HBK actually had a question for us. But before he could get to that, he was actually interrupted by Triple H, who asked, "Are you ready?" They get in and the boys are back there. Yeah, come on! Are you ready? Yeah, let's go! And the show starts straight in with the NXT Women's Championship. Huge pep.
Yeah. Loves it, doesn't he? Bloody loves it.
Oh, I mean, they just love themselves, don't they?
Yeah.
Deservedly. Right, we start with the NXT Women's Championship match. Roxanne Perez, who presumably if she lost this, would probably head straight to the main roster. So
Yeah, but she didn't, did she, mate?
No, she didn't. It was more time to just season in NXT before. I would assume heading to the main roster.
They're all. That's what the aim is for all of them. Too many though.
Roxanne Perez versus Julia. Exchanging near falls early on. They go to a stalemate and then go head to head, nose to nose. Takes to our first break. Crowd wakes up a bit when Julia starts firing off some headbutts. And there's a big NXT chant when Roxanne sails through the ropes with a tope, and then Julia fires back with a super Northern Lights suplex and a bridge. Both sort of cross-face each other and get to the ropes and trade some near falls. Perez hits a pop rocks, but Julia rolls to the outside to avoid getting pinned, and they fight out there where Julia gives Roxanne a Northern Lights. They tease a double count out, but just get back into the count of 9. At which point Roxanne Perez goes and grabs the title belt, but that distracts the referee, and then suddenly someone in a hood attacks Julia on the outside, hits her with a DDT on the floor. Julia gets rolled back in the ring. Another pop rocks from Roxanne Perez. 1, 2, 3. Roxanne Perez retains, and the hooded assailant is revealed to be a returning Cora Jade.
Can we just mention the brief interaction I have later on in the show? Would that be awkward?
No.
So the backstage bit as well. Because I feel like I want to praise the ending of this, because a lot of people seemed really pissed off just that Julia had lost full stop and the booking of it.
I think
Funny.
Judging by the match, it was the right call, to be honest, but we'll get into that in a second. Yeah, Cora later on is asked about her return. Says so many people are focused on Julia and Stephanie Vaquer. They forgot about me. Roxanne walks up and Cora says, we've got a history, but I kind of like who you've become. And Roxanne suggests maybe a common enemy will bring them together.
So I think what has happened, or what we will see play out, and this is not bad booking, I don't think. Cora Jade has got this like slightly new look, like purple in her hair, and you have a quick look. It's the exact same gear as Roxanne Perez. Roxanne Perez has grabbed the belt because that is the moment where they're playing it at the moment as if like, what are you doing back? Whereas I think actually the fix was in, and they're going to reveal that they were kind of in on this because Roxanne Perez last week was suddenly greeted with Julia in the ring and Stephanie Vaquer on the screen, and increasingly paranoid that her time is over as champion. So she's kind of brought Cora back for this purpose. So I think that's like not bad booking, and yeah, fine, I guess. And it was the best bit, and the reveal of the finish and Cora Jade and stuff was probably the best bit of a match that otherwise I felt was a massive disappointment. Like most of it fell flat. The vast majority of it fell flat. The crowd kind of were into it at the beginning. Julia's got loads of aura, and that really helps. But it started to wear off when it didn't really feel like it was giving the fans enough of what they wanted. So you would have like a flurry of offense from Julia, and then Roxanne would cut off. And that's how, WWE matches especially are designed to happen. But what's been one of Roxanne Perez's greatest skills as a heel champion, which I would have never seen coming, is her ability to be that kind of house cut-off heel and still make the matches entertaining. She puts her obvious gifts, her like technical ability and how sort of quick and slick she is, and yet makes it a villainous trait rather than just a cool babyface to watch. It just wasn't happening here. I don't know, like I wouldn't say there was a chemistry issue, but there was a bit of a chemistry issue between the match and the fans. It was as if like the story that they were telling was just the one the audience weren't interested in, and you just felt like you were watching Julia's like aura and appeal and like mystique just drain away as much. I was like watching her be normalized across the course of the match, and then she lost the way she did to an already established, very WWE wrestler to like maintain parity within the division. And now she feels just part of the chasing pack rather than a special attraction. It's a risk because I still think they'll put the belt on her. I think they will.
Long term, I think they will,
I think they will get back to Julia winning the belt and feeling like she's the top of the tree and all that kind of stuff. But it's been 2 matches, 1 squash, 1 match, and a couple of promos. It's making the run feel like a bit of a failed project at the moment.
Yeah, I got very little out of this, and I thought it was very damaging for Julia. I wasn't that high on the Chelsea Green match. I thought it was a bit too back and forth, and maybe one thing has impacted the other in that she should have just destroyed someone. Not necessarily Chelsea Green, who is really good. I've got a lot of time for her. But just anyone, just to establish. Here are the moves that she can do. Don't let her even approach a struggle. She's meant to be walking in as this demigod who's just gotten entitled to that belt, that Asuka push. There was some nice 1-2 pin exchanges early, and they didn't sort of just. They actually fought for the kickouts. But elsewhere, the fundamentals, and it just kind of petered out and never really you're meant to go on that upward curve and just build and build and build and build. It's some cool stuff, and then it just flattened. It was just a flat, nothing really happening, no drama, didn't feel like a spectacle. It just was kind of a nothing match really for me. And I'll tell you what as well, I'm starting to feel old because like a lot of things that I see in most pro wrestling matches, just the lack of no fundamentals. They talk about great fundamentals. They just piss poor fundamentals. Like here's an example. Like I was like, oh, good, some good pins because that's become a bit of a bloody epidemic in terms of when this isn't the finish, so off you go.
It's a new half-ass clothesline, isn't it?
Yeah, you're meant to pin them down either clothesline. It was almost as if Roxanne Perez was pushing Julia out of the ring. There was no desperation. Oh, get back, get back. It was like her hands were moving the wrong freaking way for a start. And I tell you what as well, she must have been taken aside a summit as Julia, who just doesn't feel like she could kill you. You know what I mean? I just like, Julia's going to kill you. That I get nothing of that. That knee is poor.
It is poor, isn't
someone's, I think's taken her aside and went, just so you know, young lady, we don't really do it that hard over here, so just hold it back a little bit. Some now. You hold that back now. Hold it back.
Don't want to be hurting kids.
I don't know where Matt Bloom's from, but I'm doing Matt Bloom or one of the trainers or whatever. And she's like, okay.
Looks fake. Do it again.
What is it, dead man?
What do you want, dead man?
It's just like, and I was like, and in a way, right? You know when like the very best near falls you see in wrestling are like, that's the finish. I hope it's not the finish. I'm really into this right now. This is like the literal opposite of a great effective near fall because you're like, don't let that be the finish. That blew. And then you're like, it wasn't the finish. More of this then, I guess. This Julia push has not really worked.
There's time to fix it. Bad start. Like there's loads of time to fix it, but bad start.
I watched this and I thought it was the right call and a good way to protect her in terms of not just having her being beat. She interference, Cora Jade, etc., and got stories that can go from there. And then I sat and thought about it, and I'm not as doom and gloom about it as most people, because I think Julia needs to. No, both of you. I think
I'm in trouble.
I think Julia needs to learn. Julia needs to learn the WWE style and how proper wrestling's done. So more time in NXT will be beneficial for her. I think Stephanie Vaquer is more suited to going up to the main roster quicker, and therefore,
All that great work in AEW.
I think she's going to win the title and then be fast-tracked to the main roster.
What was the best matches in CMLL, mate?
All of them, to be honest. I just loved all of them. It's hard to pick a favourite.
Tricky if never had a bad match, so there's a lot of pressure on her shoulders.
No, I just think Stephanie, because you can't put the title on Julia and then put the title on Stephanie Vaquer with that. So have Julia take a longer time. She's been screwed out of it, but she's back of the line now.
Yep.
Maybe even have a sort of dream team, Stephanie Vaquer, Julia, of the new people coming in, or Delta's coming in as well, obviously.
Yeah, there's a tease on the show. Never seen a Delta match. I'm going to have to watch a Delta match.
Oh, love Delta's work.
To finish.
I have to tell you, mate, you really need to kind of do your research.
Here's, you know what this was?
But I think Stephanie Vaquer wins the title to take it off Roxanne to free her up to go to the main roster. And then Stephanie Vaquer probably drops it to Julia maybe, or Cora Jade, and then she goes up, and then Julia spends. I don't think Julia's going up before at least WrestleMania.
Yeah. And that's fine.
NXT should be there 3 years before everyone's bored.
It's not that far away, WrestleMania. I think what you're pitching takes longer.
I think Vaquer might end up in the Rumble. Might be that quick of a turnaround.
Yeah.
You know what this was? I didn't really care that she didn't win because I just don't care generally about stuff. If, God, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, what planet, what timeline are you living in, the people who complain about this? It's not like, she's going to get buried by the WWE if she loses. It's, it's 2024. Wake up. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're right there with me with that.
100%, yeah. People that's very sort of...
She gets over. It's actually a meritocracy now. Yeah. It's actually sort of, they will reward people who progress well in their careers. You don't have to do this immediately. Get her over before Vince sees sort of thing. And she wasn't that great in the match, so maybe she doesn't deserve the title. And maybe I hate to say this, right, because this show is absolute slop, but maybe to a degree, they have an idea of not ready yet. And that's why the booking's gone the way it's gone or whatever. Like, I tell you whatever, my brain chemistry's completely changed. You know what this was, though? Bear in mind, I don't care. This had all of the sort of, it harkened back to what a main roster debut used to look like. Didn't look, for whatever reason, as good as your reputation suggests or your previous body of work suggests, and you've just been booked in a way that made you didn't look like the next big thing. That was the recipe of the main roster debut under Vince, and this was giving that.
Yeah.
But she wasn't great.
No.
She wasn't bad. She didn't like...
You don't get anywhere near the conversations you used to. Christ, we used to be able to fill this. We'd put 10, but you could put 50. The people that are not getting the opportunity they deserve, that's not really a WWE conversation now, is it? Amongst people with a brain in their heads. Like, there'll be stan accounts or whatever, but for the most part, you don't see X's. The Giovanni Vinci thing was so weird because it was such an outlier.
Yeah.
Don't like that. Like, you just never see that kind of seemingly destructive booking anymore. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't watch these shows and think, come on, dude, it's booking 101. I just don't. I don't think that's the way these characters are presented. Yeah,
just dead and buried.
Yeah, who is? Yeah, nobody is now. Yeah.
Oh,
maybe Giovanni. Maybe.
Yeah.
No, I'll let that one play out. Right, the
disagree.
Tag champs Axiom. Nathan Fraser.
When I'm cleaning windows.
Another game.
Playing a video game.
Like we all play games.
Nathan loses his temper. Axiom tells him to keep it in check.
Mrs. plays Mario Kart as a shoot, and she'll admit this as well.
That's fine. You can steer the car with a wheel adapter, but like on 2K24.
No, it's a 64.
I'm doing a move. I'm doing another one of our flips.
He needs to keep his temper in check in the game and in real life. And Fraser gets distracted, and they bloody lose against A10 Dan Ander.
He's as bad on the game as he is in real life.
That's what will happen to us if we got heads together.
Fraser admits that
my pad's out of battery. Where's the charger? It's behind me, isn't it?
Fraser says you might have a point, actually. And they have another game.
Just dislikable dickheads these two.
I know.
God.
They electrify me in that ring.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to do that these days in that style.
Best working tag team in the whole company, maybe.
Oh, my God. Well, yeah. Oh, I mean, there's no debate.
Who's comparing with them? Nobody. Yeah, nobody. It's a good tag roster, but these like the only like.
These are different gravy.
Yeah.
This is like Nathan Fraser, right? I know. Is the biggest Dorcas Malorcas of all time.
Never heard that phrase before.
Never heard that. He's such a geek. Can you imagine him main event in WrestleMania? Like, never in a million years. You know, he's just got this quality of like, what is he?
I don't know. I'm just thinking about like the Gladiator movies or something like that. Like, sort of the Roman Empire. Dorcas Malorcas.
Things like, and you got a Dorcas Malorcas.
Like Father Malorcas is Seth Rollins.
I mean,
Yes.
the apples that fall far from the tree.
The Malorcas wrestling legacy. My son Dorcas. He's even worse than me.
You know what I mean?
Father freaking Malorcas.
He's simply not very cool, is he?
No. But speaking of actual stars, Ava is there. She hasn't got to say anything. She's Rock's daughter, general manager of NXT. She's chatting with CM Punk, saying, "Look, I know you got a lot going on."
Worlds colliding this. Look at these two. What the
Dwayne's a pretty good ass kisser.
You need to call it down the middle tonight. Punk says he will. And then in comes Lexis King, to which Punk looks at his preposterous beard and points at this thing shaved in and says, "Is that a Chicago star?" And he goes, "Well, I'm a star in Chicago." Love it.
Brilliant.
Punk says, I'll let that go because of your dad. And Lexi says, "I'm trying not to be my dad. I'm trying to be a good guy." Talks about the match with Oramensa last week. Punk references it and gives him the Two Wolves speech. You win at all costs, or do you fight against the genes he was born with? I didn't realise he was born with trousers on. Anyway, Lexus says thanks, and they part amicably.
The jeans.
For a bit of context, right?
Because I'm Lexus King.
Yeah, explain this.
Was it Monday?
Yeah.
Monday.
It's getting a bit cold now.
Hamlet usually wears shorts or a nice pair of green or maroon joggers.
Yeah.
Adidas joggers.
Yeah.
Well, no, like one of the two. Yeah. I didn't get confused, mate.
What colour is that?
But he's got two pairs.
Yeah.
He's got these two pairs. Yeah. And he comes in on Monday because the weather wearing jeans. And I just go, "Oh, Mr. Jeans." And then we'll go, "Call him Mr. Jeans, Mr. Jeans."
Is this like the...
I've been calling him Mr. Jeans all week.
Yeah, what culture boys kind of like smell their own farts on those wrestling podcasts they do? I don't think so. This is what we laugh at in the office. This is the bar.
Call him Mr. Jeans, Mr. Jeans.
Thoughts on this back and forth?
Legitimately the highlight of the whole show for me, this. Ava and Punk. It's like, wow. Like, Ava's doing the thing, she does with her hands, and Punk's doing a call in the middle, and she's going, "Oh, do I do that as well?" You don't have to talk with your hands the whole time, love. And then Lexus King. Lexus King, Punk likes him.
Yeah.
And I am fascinated by that.
Because he knows he sucks. I think Punk has got this thing where it's like he thinks, like, I don't know, like his shrink. I reckon he thinks
he'd be a
there's
goddamn millionaire if you were.
as an extravagance of bland in wrestling, and he has our feelings on another 7 out of 10 wrestling match. Great, whoopee. I think he likes the great and the terrible and what you can get from that.
The hair thing looked brilliant.
We get a nice video recap.
Here's something, sorry, but I'm stepped on your dick and interrupted you mid-fly. I'm sorry, I do that. Does CM Punk ask? He's got leverage. He's a big star. I think his quarter hour on Raw was like different gravy compared to the rest of the show.
That was all.
You know, does he, with his leverage and his pull, say, "I want to do some segments where I just, I'm all about the young generation," and, or do you reckon they just give him it? And do you think it's awkward? Got another young kid, Punk. I know you love doing that. Do you know what I mean? Like, how is there so many advicey segments going on? Is it like, go on, Mr. Hotshot?
I mean, a little bit of it is him trying to work that role into a shoot, isn't it? Like the more he's seen to be, it's like people watching Regal.
William Regal's the GM. Oh, he should be
creative.
creative.
Life management figure. No, he's just
He's playing a TV character. He hasn't booked a show in his life.
People did think like, thank God Regal's booked this.
So it's no wonder wrestlers call them all marks.
Like that feels like what Punk's doing. Is that he's like, the more people perceive me to be this like locker room leader created, like he wants Sean's job. Yeah. And Sean has said, I'd love him to come down here. So I think it's a little bit of that. I think he's more than willing to do it. And then they subsequently, he's good in them segments. Let's put him in more.
Yeah.
So we get a video package ahead of the street fight. Wesley and Zach Wentz's history with Trey Miguel as well. Before the match, so we see Jada Parker rowing with Lola Vice before they go out and tag together.
Lola Vice!
They're arguing about who's taking the lead. Kalani Jordan comes in, says you need to rely on each other. Jada says, I'm off to deal with Fatal Influence. Lola says, not before I deal with them. Kalani's got a backup plan though.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I misspeak all the time. Come on, give us some back.
There's a nice bit with Kalani later on.
Yeah.
I did like what happened there later. Yeah.
Let's talk street fight then. Wesley attacks Zach as he's coming down the aisle before the bell. They brawl around ringside. Wesley gets smashed in the ring steps. Well, he's leaning against the ring steps. He gets smashed by a shopping cart.
I like that.
Wentz goes under the ring. I thought he was going for a table.
I thought he was going to move.
Yeah, just nailed him with it. I thought Zach was going for a table, just brings out a big piece of plywood.
Yeah, looks like gas.
Wesley just dives onto it. I thought they'd run out of tables for a bit because there was another bit with plywood later, and I was like, do they not have any tables knocking about? Or
did the best to keep one spare, didn't they?
Anyway.
Big Joseph and that like, oh no! Missed my Booker wasn't even watching. What? Huh? Why's the table still up? Wind it back. Book missed it. Call a replay.
Twats, they really laying it in with there was a kendo stick shots here, but Zach Wentz comes back with a super kick and just really nails Wesley with a chair. They fight on the apron, and Wesley jumps off with Zach Wentz and puts him through some plywood to take us to a break. We come back, and Zach Wentz goes coast to coast, smashing a trash can into Wesley's face. And then Wesley takes a face-first bump onto a chair. Zach Wentz pays him back with the kendo stick shots. There's a trash can on his head, smacks him with it. Then hits a senton, but he sort of... normally it's a cross. He just went on top of him, didn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know, horizontally, vertically, whatever you want to call it. But
you don't see too many of them because it just looks rough all around.
Yeah.
Good.
So this was when Zach Wentz, goes for like a UFO cutter, gets shoved off the top rope. He's meant to fly out of the ring through the table that's set up in the aisleway, misses the table completely, takes a horrible bump on the floor.
It's awesome.
It was awesome.
But because you're watching wrestling and your brain is attuned to wrestling, it's a little bit like heartbreaking, isn't it? That that's a cool table bump and he's overshot it, but it's so violent. Like
Looks way better.
Yeah.
Looks way better.
So Wes rolls him back in, hits a double stomp to the back onto a chair, but only gets a 2. Grabs a chain, wraps it around his fist, but so Zach Wentz, and they nail each other, both go down. They get back up, and Zach Wentz has got a chair, but he doesn't want to swing at him. Does so, but Wesley hits him with a low blow. It's a loaded fist, chain shots to the head, and then he climbs the ropes and wraps the chain around his legs and his knees. It's a double knee through the chair and gets the 1, 2, 3.
Good stuff. A real over-delivery. Wesley finally has a good night as a heel. I don't know if it is ever going to justify the turn. We'll see. Maybe he's the next guy that they're going to try and find like a good match for Trick Williams. I don't know.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a strategic thing because you've sacrificed something in him as a babyface, and you still feel like he's still figuring it out a bit as this heel, as this specific type of heel that he's playing. But this was over-delivery for me. I had quite low expectations. I thought I'd said it on it, it was bad timing, ultimately, to book a Chicago street fight in the wake of a still superior one, by the way. Will Stat was better. But this was just, it felt energetic. It didn't feel like that I hate those ponderous plunder matches where we've done that weapon, now onto that weapon, done that weapon. There was enough of the opportunistic weapon stuff. Then you get the wild stuff like missing the table. Tell you what, Christ, wrestlers, like the way athleticism moves on in wrestling, you'll remember this the same way I did, Sige. The first time you see the Van Terminator is because you've waited 3 days for it to download on your dial-up internet.
Oh my God.
You
can't believe
how
it.
is that man defied gravity, right? And then Shane, the bastard, steals it. And he uses the bin, and he doesn't have to get it. It's cheating a bit, and there's no springboard effort.
Clever.
It's not as good, but he's still done a pretty good job. Friggin' Zach Wentz here had like room to spare. He could have kept going, like make the ring 2 feet more, and he still made it amazing. Like the best one of them I've ever seen, realistically. And it's now at the point where you can't end a match with it. You got to keep going. Good bit of business, this, genuinely.
This is a really good bit of business. I did enjoy how after the first one didn't play out like this at all, that they managed to reconcile 2 pretty difficult elements in that you pay a ticket not to see these, but while you sat there, you don't want to see them have a brawl. I mean, they're absolutely incredible athletes, or at least certainly Wesley is. But they're meant to be in a blood feud, and you're going to have to do one at some point. And I thought they did a great job of fusing some really spectacular spots with a tone and a tenor that was sort of like fitting of what they were meant to be fighting about in this sort of like turmoil and stuff. I was having a really, really, really good time. Greatness has got a different definition these days. I don't think it was great. It was really, really good, really, really exciting, and it looked better for when it just didn't look completely perfect, and it looked like it in fact sucked. Like that move where I thought it, before I realised that he bumped on it sort of sternum first. I thought Wesley had just cracked his face open on an upright chair.
Yeah.
That looked 10 times better for missing the table. It just happened to be there and stuff as well. It looked 10 times better. It just looks like he's really done himself in. Sorry, I know you're not meant to do it like that, but it looked better as a result. The last minute, I was like, oh, for Christ's sake. They have to NXT it, don't they? And NXT should be used as a bad thing.
Oh, okay.
Just in case you got excited there.
Confused
Yeah.
They had to bloody NXT it. So didn't really like Wes. He just about got away with it. But when he Dax Harwooded himself with that chain around the legs, when Dax Harwood did it, it was like, it's like just...
You've loved the acting in this story as well. So this was
Well, I'm getting there. So I was like, oh, it just about, if I squint, looks like he's wrapped the chain around his legs, which is a pretty stupid thing to do. Imagine if that goes wrong or your opponent gets there. But I suppose it's high risk. It looks like you've strangled and struck someone at the same time, you know? So I'll give you that. But the acting, I can't do this, man. You're my brother. You're my brother. I gotta do this now. Just shut the up. You know what I mean? Like,
after all that, like, this is the line. And they never get the line right, do they? It's like they've been beating each other up with everything for 10, 15 minutes, whatever. I can't go this far. I mean, look what you've already...
I can't win.
Yeah.
I can hurt you, but I was just stupid. If there's like a chainsaw or something, you know what I mean? I can't actually do this. I'll twat you with a chair or something. I can't do this, actually. Oh, no. God, wrestling stinks, man. This show stinks. Even when it's good like this, it stinks somehow.
Well, business is about to pick up because it's time for Miz TV.
Oh, so you agree that it needed to pick it up?
No, even more. It's like already on a level. It's got even better. Miz TV with North American champion Oba Femi and Tony D.
Real bad.
Real bad. Chicago crowd disagree. Chicago crowd raining down the booze on Miz, who tells Chicago to tell him how you really feel. Welcomes us to Miz TV for the debut of NXT on the C-Dub. And welcomes the North American champion, Obafemi, and Tony D, who's wearing a white suit.
Oh my God.
Miz asks Tony first, talks about him admitting he's afraid of facing Oba again. What makes it think it'll be different? And he says, "Oh, Miz, all my life I've been the guy to strike fear into the hearts of others. Rough up a few wise guys, fix a few problems. But Oba, he dominates the game in every facet. There's a reason why he's the most dominant NXT North American champion. You see, I felt his power, his aggressiveness, his explosiveness. But I use this fear as a motivation to do the unthinkable. And next week, I'm going to stand toe-to-toe with Oba. I'm going to dethrone the ruler of NXT and become the new North American champion."
Well, these Chicagoans have never met their fellow Chicagoan, apparently.
Yeah, until he mentioned he was from Chicago. And then, hey,
Hey. And then they said, of course.
They said, sorry, yeah. Then they said, Tony D.
Hey, Hey, you all right?
John Schmuck. He's like, hey, Chicago. What it was? Like, he could have just responded from the beginning, but you've never watched the show ever, have you?
Yeah.
Miz asks Oba for his response, and Oba says, look, you've been in the game long enough to know when a man believes what he's saying, and Tony clearly doesn't. He's had a successful career up to this point, but a guy like him has a ceiling. Yes, he can stuff people in trunks.
Oh my God.
But he'll never be North American champion because it's his title. To which Tony says, oh, you sit there, you talk about me like you know me, you know where I'm from. I grew up 20 minutes from this building. I grew up in the streets of Chicago. Huge pop, Tony Shan.
Oh, all right, actually. All I'm saying is, look at this Tony guy.
He says, oh, see, I got family in the back, family in the crowd, extended and immediate. I got friends who believe and motivate me to be the man I am today. And Oba says, they can't fight for you. Luca, the Wiz, Dix, none of them can fight for you. It's just me and you in the ring. Last time we were in the ring together, I broke you, beat you, and planted doubt in your mind. Tony says, oh! No, sorry, he says, Tony, you can't beat me. And then Tony says, oh, you're just a man. To which Oba drops the cinema line. What did he say?
Remind me?
Remember what he said, and I'll tell you the picture.
I am inevitable.
Thanos.
There you go. One of the greatest film franchises of all time being referenced by WWE. That, ladies and gentlemen, is cinema.
No, it isn't.
Well, it is.
No, it isn't.
Look at the way that ends, which means Tony's going to be the North American champion, despite looking a little bit nervous, to be perfectly honest, after Oba says he's still broken, and Miz hypes the match. Loved this.
Thanos? Short form.
Spoilers.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. It's a few years
Good
ago.
guys win.
It's family-friendly popcorn cinema, so of course they do.
Doesn't he wins, doesn't he?
Who?
Thanos.
No, they're retconning it all, man.
Not long term. He wins the first one, but the second
He wins the
one.
battle. He wins the battle with him on the wall. Welcome to family-friendly popcorn entertainment, mate.
I always thought he'd won it. I thought that was the deal. When people talk about a Thanos snap, it's because it actually, twist, the heel won. The heel went over.
He did in the first one.
Yeah.
They did didn't know that.
It's like wrestling, you know. Anyway.
I prefer trilogy.
I know you do. Here's the thing. This was pretty bad. Like, they just didn't... I think Obafemi's great. This didn't really feel at Major League. This crowd just didn't seem to give a toss whatsoever. Like, I think they just saw, what's this NXT next to WWE? Oh, we'll go. It's in town. It's in town. All I'm saying is it's in town.
The Chicago Hill.
I don't know how to do Chicago. I can't even say Chicago. My favorite thing about this is, here's my impression of The Miz preparing for this segment. Tony D'Angelo, Obafemi, Tony D'Angelo. And Tony D'Angelo! He's not heard these names. And, well, he did a good impression of learning their names 5 minutes before the gig. And, like, did he look around to say, are they finished? Are they finished? Before doing his big last sell. He did. He was like,
big pause, weren't they? Yeah.
Are they finished? Well, that's it. St. Louis, it is. This is pretty amateurish, really.
I agree. Yeah, it was a bad idea for a segment, but I think it was made worse by what was increasingly becoming clear, a crowd that were just not connected to this product. Like, Tony D getting wanted was just a sad state of affairs. But Obafemi...
I felt like climbing through the screen when that happened.
I bet you did. Obafemi is a wrestler of which it's impossible to minimize. Like, he's got this incredible, like, star quality and charisma there in his street clothes, and then he gets in his gear and he kills people. Like, there's not a version of Obafemi that isn't just awesome, and everybody fantasy books that he's going to be this money player. And yet they almost found one. Like, a talk show segment in front of a bunch of fans that didn't really feel like they believed in any of it.
It's
probably the worst presentation of Obafemi ever.
It was, and it's such a slop, isn't it? Right? Okay, well, we could do is shifting a few tickets. Who knows if this takes off? It's another revenue stream for us. Let's try NXT on the road, pump it up. CM Punk as a guest ref or whatever, Miss TV or whatever, Lick a Tit or whatever.
Free pizza or whatever.
It's just it's always such slop. People get excited, and I try and tell you, I try and piss on your chips every time. It's utter slop. CM Punk is a guest ref, who cares? Miss TV, Undertaker can choke slam Braun Breaker, Cody can be the GM for a night, whatever.
Best in it. Just wait till next week.
Ever. It's just
season premiere. It's not for me. I like it.
You know what? In fact, I enjoyed this, and I feel like you missed it so much. I'm going to go and see if I can find my copy of the Avengers films.
It's on. They're all. You got Disney Plus.
Well, I do, but you've just spoiled the ending, so it'll save me the job.
Yeah, I've got-
But they're all on Disney Plus, so you don't have to do
great,
anything.
I want to see if I want to get. I really like physical copies of stuff, and I feel like I've got all the DVDs on my desk, so I'm going to go and check
I've
that
not got a
out.
single thing in my house that could play those.
You know what?
discs.
I was standing next to you earlier because you got us a Freddo, and I was like, I walked over and I thought, cheers for the Freddo, mate. It was really nice of them, actually. And I didn't see any DVDs. It's
you-
all in
under the
And
desk.
you know why?
Under the desk.
No, I looked under as well. I was tying my shoelace. I was tying my shoelace. I didn't see them under the desk. You know why? It's because it's not your house, and that's why you keep your DVDs.
No, I brought them in, but I kept them in my bag. I didn't want to mention them because I saw the segment. I thought, well, I'll bring them in. They're still
Why
in
didn't you
my
want to
bag.
mention that you're in your bag? You said they were on the
Because
desk.
I wanted to surprise you. I didn't want to spoil the Thanos bit. So I'm going to go and get them, and you talk about how Tony D's going to win the title next week.
Nah, these are lies. These are total lies.
Well, Sidge, but which is it? Like actual high stakes here, because he either wins the title or, say it with me, gets called up to the main roster.
can't exist in the main roster.
But does he beat Obafemi? Is
Can't, like,
Obafemi's
kill people on the main
first loss
roster.
happening next week?
They are
That's a risk and
they
all.
are putting a lot behind the story, and I will say, as dreadful as it is, it's just total and utter Rocky plagiarism. That's all it is. It's genuinely pathetic. And this
All
is
I'm
why
saying is I don't know what film you're referring to. so-
yes. You are CM Punk, obviously. I think
wish.
that they are putting some time. Okay, I'm going to say thought. Oh, Rocky. There we go. They're putting some time into this as opposed to thought. So, sorry, my tennis elbow's playing up. Maybe, I don't know.
Hey,
How goddamn good was that Miss TV segment last night? I bet you both goddamn loved it, right? Huh?
And
Did you have a nice time in Chicago?
I had such a goddamn good time, and I can't wait for next week when Tony D wins the North American goddamn title. But hey, not all about NXT, you know. I watch other products. You can like more than one wrestling show. You know, I heard a little bit about this new little show called AEW Dynamite, which is apparently celebrating 5 years today. Congratulations to the little show that could, huh? Sitch, what's the deal with the number 5, though, huh?
so, what are your thoughts on AEW?
Hadn't seen it, haven't watched it, to be honest. Just heard a lot of talk about it.
Okay, wait 1 second.
Well, apparently we used to go head-to-head, but we obviously had to move because of hockey. So, you know, congratulations to them on Wednesday nights. I'm sure they're absolutely killing it. Must be nearly catching Raw in the ratings now, huh?
Give me
It was a point, Stacks, but you were always very busy now.
Yeah, that's a shame. That's a real shame. Oh, never mind.
wait,
What's the deal?
Wait there, Stacks. You know, you wrestled for All Elite Wrestling.
I don't remember that. I don't actually, I must be having confused with somebody else.
No, you appeared for All Elite Wrestling on the June 15, 2021 episode of Dark, losing to Frankie Kazarian.
Doesn't ring a bell.
You also
Doesn't
wrestled.
ring a bell.
You also wrestled on the July 13 episode of Dark, and you lost to the Blade.
I'm in like TV wrestling, obviously, not like goddamn dark. I've done some
So
dark
you've wrestled for
matches,
AEW.
Yeah, but you know, I didn't really watch the goddamn product, obviously.
Obviously, so you wrestled for them.
Yeah.
You are AEW. So you are AEW alumni.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, I work both shows, you know. Not many people can say that. Me, Cody Rhodes, a few others, I suppose.
CM Punk.
CM Punk and guys, yeah.
Get a Stacks' All Elite graphic.
2 times he's over there and he's still doing stuff.
Who? I thought
Well, we don't talk about that guy.
you just did. Sorry, what was your question, Stacks?
What's
I'm
the
sorry.
deal with the number 5?
Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5.
We have had 4 people, as far as I can recall, in Tony D's family. I'm not used to this.
Very good.
But you know, speaking of the number 5, did you hear about the guy who was born with 5 penises? He went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "How on earth does your underwear fit?" And he said, "Like a glove, doc." Anyway, question joke number 1: what do you call a lizard that can punctuate 5 times in a row? What do you call a lizard that can punctuate 5 times in a row?
Comma, chameleon.
Yes. And that is a joke I can tell the kids.
Yes.
Because my youngest son has recently discovered that song and loves
Oh.
it. So he's going to love that when he watches all of these jokes, one after another after another.
He's gonna love this one too. What do guys get after 5 days of furiously masturbating?
What do guys get after 5 days of furiously masturbating?
Blisters.
Blisters.
See, the 5 is in the setup as well, so we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Full setup, please.
Now, what do guys get after 5 days of furiously masturbating?
Is somehow you can wedge some? What's 5 in different languages? Fünf.
Is that? I don't know.
1, 2, 3,
Didn't do
4,
that.
5.
Sank.
Sank. It's Latin? I don't know.
Be funny if like
V.
Latin was like 1, 2, 3, 4, wank.
Is there any kind of pun in post-nut clarity?
Not sure.
It's a shame because I hate getting the first one right almost because you think maybe the
second one
elusive Hattie, the elusive Hattie, just slap a Hattie in for half time.
Right hand, left hand, head.
God damn it. Don't know.
What do guys get after 5 days of furiously masturbating? A weekend. A weekend. Huh?
That's good.
That's good. That is good.
That's it,
Final question, final
The whole
joke for
thing
you.
would be
5 years of AEW Dynamite, explosives. Speaking of explosives,
not many jokes on 5 as I
what
said.
happened? Not many rude ones to finish on. What happened when I accidentally put explosive in my laundry? Huh? Picture that.
So it's day.
Yeah.
What happens when I accidentally put explosives in my laundry?
A stick of dynamite in his pants. Is that a stick of dynamite in his pocket, or is he just pleased to see you? His penis.
My laundry. Something to do with cum. Surely, because like detergent can sometimes resemble jism.
Yeah. What about the explosive element of it? An explosion of cum.
That's
not the answer.
What happens when I accidentally put dynamite in my laundry? It's something to do with socks. Because Stax has done jokes about jerking off into socks before.
Yeah, so he's great growth stacks. He's on the C-Dub now. Anything in TNT? New networks?
You've got wrestling on the brain. Stop thinking about wrestling as much as you do, mate. I don't know.
What happened when I accidentally put explosives in my laundry? I blew my load everywhere. See you later, guys.
Bye, Stax.
Should have got a brace there, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Maybe not actually.
Should have got a brace there. Well, Paul Bracewell.
Loved him. You loved him too, didn't you? He's one of the few that crosses the divide,
Crossover, right?
yeah.
Bracewell, Clark.
No. I mean, liked by both sides.
There's only, I think, probably the only one.
Bracewell, yeah.
We didn't like Callback very much. He had one half decent season.
Do you like Lionel Perez at all?
No emotional attachment. It's like third string or something.
Was that?
All right.
All right, sorry, yeah.
That was the Avengers.
DVDs.
Oh, it's the bloody DC universe I brought in today. Typical. Anyway, after Miss TV, you had the Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez bit, and it was time for Fatal Influence. Fatal Influence.
Kills him selling it.
Fatal Influence versus Lola Vice and Jada Barker. Surprisingly, Jasmine Nix on the outside for this one.
Yeah.
Fatal Influence represented by Fallon Henley and Jason James. Kalani Jordan on guest commentary here. JC thinks it's a good idea to slap Jada Parker early on, get slapped right back. But Jada and Lola are on the same page early on. Tags her in after running JC over, and Lola hits a kick through the ropes. Jada comes back in and sends Fallon into the corner, splashes her, sets her against the middle rope, puts JC on top of her and does that hip drop of hers. And Lola comes in for a hip smash. Fallon drops Jada, goes for the tag, brings in JC, And Lola sees it coming and nails JC with a kick, but only after Jada Parker has ducked. So she thinks, was that kink meant for me? They argue that allows Fallon Henley to take them both out as we take a break. When we come back, Lola Vice is trapped in a body scissors and we see her getting posted during the break. Heels work her over, but double clothesline, double down. Vice is about to make the hot tag when Jasmine Nix distracts Jada Parker. And then Henley sends Vice into Jada Parker, who said, that's enough. Storms out. Vice actually almost beats Fatal Influence single-handedly, but she gets cut off by a big elbow by JC Jane. And what's better than an EVP trigger? A running EVP trigger, that's right. And they get the 1, 2, 3 on Lola Vice.
I mean, who could have foreseen the babyfaces not being able to coexist?
I didn't.
Certainly not us, definitely word for word on the preview. Fallon Henley was good, genuinely. But I like Fallon Henley and sometimes want her run to go better than it goes, and liked her here as a result. The post-match stuff was a nice bit of, which we haven't covered yet, a nice bit of main roster synergy upcoming. Not much else to say about the match, really. Not sure about this Lola Vice, Jada Parker stuff. I haven't been sure all along.
I don't give a toss about it. Yeah, the match is kind of just there for me. The story was incredibly obvious as to where it was going to go.
Seems to manage quite well on her own.
Yeah. I thought for a split second she was going to win.
Yeah. You don't really do that if the partner's left you.
No. There was something I wanted to say about this. No.
Post-match, JC cuts a promo saying that's a statement made. Fallon says our next target is Kalani Jordan, who just so happens to be at ringside, of course. And Kalani says, I had a feeling this was coming. We can go right now, but I didn't come alone. And here comes Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill to make the save. They take out Fatal Influence. Jade hit a big splash on JC and Fallon. Bianca hit a spine buster and Kalani hit a drop kick to all of them. They clear the ring. Lovely moment.
Yeah, nice. Like, a bit more used to it now because you get main roster wrestlers showing up in NXT all the time. But this was a nice, it was sort of a believable rub, wasn't it? Like, Kalani Jordan is a proper up-and-comer that will one day be on cards with Jade and Bianca, and the 6th woman for next week is just a nice way to use them.
Hell of a card next week.
Yeah, like, I think it's going to be a substantially better show than this one, genuinely. Like, this next week's NXT. Like, St. Louis, the smaller, more dedicated crowd in
Chesterfield, let's go.
Of course. So,
big matches on there.
they're giving you back with the video package. You called out, and wrestling answered your call when he said you missed Matt Sydal. And he popped up in a video package with Randy Orton getting RKO'd. So, NXT is the listening company.
Yes, we see the NXT focus of the night before the main event on Javon Evans. Talks about Randy Orton calling him out and says Randy was a G at a young age. Orton says he's where he is because of opportunities and wants to do the same for Javon. Javon talks about loving Orton growing up, but he wants to be more than a fan next week, and Orton wants to test his mettle. The odds are stacked against him, but he can prove himself. And Orton says he wants to hit Evans with an RKO that knocks everyone's socks off.
I can't wait for this match. It's a Tony Khan graphic drop in WWE. There's so few of them. I cannot wait for this match. I don't know if it's because I like Orton now, but the two of them. How big is the RKO going to be, and what's he going to spring off?
And how little is he going to do on the way there? And that might in itself be a source of schadenfreude. Yeah, it's something to look at.
Randy Orton is now. Seen him popping out of his body.
So just to clarify, before we get to this main event, one title change on this show and one title retention. Next week, tag titles on the line against A-Town Down Under and Overfemi defending against Tony D. Interesting. CM Punk.
That's Letitia to your part of that. You are brain wrong.
CM Punk quite rightly gets a full entrance, huge bab. Sleeveless referee shirt.
Oh my God.
Amazing in it. Big smile on his face. Nice to see. As well as that, we get...
I thought he was like a broody, intense dude who's in such a mood that he doesn't even want to like sort of impact AJ Lee's life, and he's moved to a hotel and he can't stand the man he's become.
It's just total bollocks, isn't it? Remember when in 2015 when the game Triple H was beaten after death by Roman Reigns, but was no way going to miss opening that takeover.
Nah.
He just was not a mark on him. It's another takeover. We started with a spark. Aren't you dead? Like, Roman Reigns left you in a neck brace on a stretcher.
We haven't even started yet. We're taking this to a whole new level.
And just before the main event, we also got a video package hyping Delta's arrival in NXT as well.
Can do some homework.
And then it was time for...
One match. Might watch one match and then I will let WWE tell me if she's any good or not. Worked for me for 30 years, even more. 35. We're on our 30s, fact.
Oh, 30s.
NXT champion Ethan
What
Page.
else a dingo warrior? No, thank you. I'll take an ultimate one.
NXT champion Ethan Page defending against Trick Williams, who, early on, Trick gets backed into the corner. Punk counts to 4 and forces the break. Page isn't happy, but he does the same for Trick straight afterwards. At one point, Page is in the ropes and Trick swings at him, but Punk catches it because he's calling it down the middle. And Page at one point tries to pin him with his foot on the ropes and Punk just goes, come on, what are we doing here? Page goes out of the ring. Trick follows him, beats him up, throws him into the ring apron, and then goes to chuck him around ringside, but Page reverses it, and Trick goes through the barricade to take us to a break. When we come back, Page hits a knee lift and a cover for a 2 count.
Whoa, guys, look!
Barricade or whatever. Look at tit or whatever.
Barricade in the bin.
There's a jumping neck breaker from Trick. And Page gets hit with a big boot eventually that sends him to the outside. Trick follows him, but Page pulls him into the ring steps and then hits an ego's edge through the commentary table. I saw an interesting bit of Ethan Page on Chris Van Vliet's podcast talking about the fact that the first ever time he put someone through a table was Trick Williams when he was in NXT.
Oh.
Interesting fact. Shout out to Chris Van Vliet. Anyway, Punk goes to check on Trick. Yeah. Apparently so.
I suppose his big sort of plunder war was with Darby Allin, and Darby Allin's just put us on the concrete, mate. Skip the table altogether.
What's the spike in it with armor? Got it.
Punk goes to check on Trick and refuses to do a count out, basically. He wants a definitive winner in this match. So Trick gets back in and nails a Trick shot, but they do the spot from when Page won the title where he collapses on top of Trick. 2 count. They are both struggling to get up, but Punk helps them up and just says, twat each other, go on. And they do back and forth. Trick goes for a Trick shot, but Page dodges. Trick hits the corner. Page gets 2. He's not happy with the count from Punk. And Punk says, you son of a bitch. And Ethan Page says, I'll show you, son of a bitch. Picks him up. Go to sleep to Trick Williams. But again, just a 2 count. Page is furious, picks him up for an ego's edge. Trick slips out the back, almost falls into Punk's arms. Page charges after him, but Trick dodges, possibly with the help of Punk somewhat. I think Booker says, well, that's some sort of an assist. Anyway, Trick nails Ethan Page as he turns around with a Trick shot. 1, 2, 3. Trick Williams is NXT champion again. Whoop that Trick echoes around the arena. He celebrates on the ropes. The confetti comes down and they go, we've got 30 seconds left. So Punk just shoves Ethan Page, who's suddenly miraculously recovered, back to his feet and go to sleeps him to close out this show.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite because I say often there's just too much good wrestling, so you would think I would enjoy some bad wrestling, but I did not. This was boring and really sort of, I was going to say uncoordinated, but I don't mean that. It was as if Trick Williams, the man that you were being shown as the uncrowned champion, or for the people that are watching for the first time, the guy that you really want to see win the belt, a great babyface and super over, even in a building where nobody's really receiving NXT wrestlers as stars, feeling like he was still a trainee, having one of his like nearly nights or something like that. The match was playing out because it was so boringly worked and executed. Like, well,
such a cliche.
Yeah, not for Trick tonight, but what an effort. What a great effort. And then we can all lie and say, oh, he came so close and one of these days it's going to come good for him. That's the last kind of vibe you want when you're basically saying the guy was screwed out the belt and he's getting it back because this is where he should have been all along. Like, it's if Ethan Page is a pretender, if anything, could have been the opposite of that. Ethan Page was the polished but incredibly dry and boring professional wrestler. Trick was the not quite ready guy. And there was just loads and loads of that wrestled at a treacly pace until it was time to get to the Punk interaction, which itself was really quite stilted and awkward. The bit, like when Booker T's doing that, I actually think in a rare dub on the C-dub for Booker T, I think he was trying to make sense of something that didn't really look like it belonged in there. Like Punk was trying to like move Trick into the corner a bit in order to get them ready for the next spot, but it didn't look like that accidental referee wrestler interaction. It just looked like, we can't be where we're supposed to be. You need to be over here. Like, and it was sort of reflective of the whole match for me, that one little moment of just, oh, this has felt all wrong.
There's just so little intensity and oomph behind what Ethan Page does. This is definitely an underhanded compliment. It's a shame because I do like Ethan Page and he's popped me. I think he seems like a really nice dude.
I like both these two. I just felt nothing to watch them work.
Yeah, the thing with Ethan Page, right, and usually this is it's like kind of a cliche, and it's usually used as a huge compliment, right? When they say, "He's a student of the game, a student of the game." I think Ethan Page is a student of the game in a way that is not a compliment, or like he's so studied in terms of his approach. Like he knows what works, right? He knows, right, I need a thing. Like he uses his little finger to accentuate the dimple. Like he knows how to do a pose, and he's got a nickname, and he knows he's got to look the part, and he's got this good approach to promo. He's like, you know, when you see like a really accomplished local band that's like, yeah, very good, but you don't have a hit in you. Like he's the worst kind of wrestler in some ways. I know that sounds really harsh, right? It's better to be really chaotic and like sort of bad, or just so watchable in some abstract, can't really articulate it, but I get it way, or just a total megastar genius or master technical craftsman. He just knows how to get ahead, but it doesn't really feel like it just feels like a school project. It sounds like it's
What's his wrestling USP?
I don't know. It's like he's aced, like totally aced what is ultimately a school project on how to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a good project, but it's not really you. Do you know what I mean? Like he's very studious.
People used to say this a lot about Bobby Roode, but I really like Bobby Roode because I thought he had like quite a quiet charisma to what he did. I kind of bought him. I don't really buy Ethan Page.
He's got like a learned charisma.
Heel.
It's like he's watched people with charisma, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not saying he doesn't have anything. He's popped us before. It's just, it's like he knows how to do it, but he doesn't know how to do it at the same time. It just doesn't, like, it just feels, I don't want to say a bit forced. Like, he's done a really, really, really good job of studying how to do it and knowing what should work. And it's a pretty big deal nowadays. Fair play to him. Genuinely seems like one of the better ones. That's never really get it. They had that exchange of like, trying to be all our desperation strikes, and it's just so patterned and stilted the way he goes about it. It doesn't feel like he's fighting for his life in there. He feels like he's watched people on tape fighting for their lives. He's like, I'll just do it like that. Do you know what I mean?
Didn't feel like they had the crowd here either as well. So you can't even say, well, look, proof of concept, because look how his audience is engaged. They weren't massively here, were they?
Good reaction when he won.
Yeah, again, I think that's like honestly force of will charisma that Trick Williams has and still has, but the bad / indifferent singles matches are piling up. And if you're watching every week, and maybe a lot of people aren't, that's a benefit to him, but if you're watching every week, I think that's becoming extremely detrimental, like to the appeal, because it does pierce the veneer a little bit, doesn't it? You want to just buy Trick. I want to just, like, hands by my side, buy Trick Williams as a guy that I can enjoy. And I just keep seeing examples that make me think, he can never be it, so I might as well get off the train now. You know, like I don't know. I didn't feel what I wanted to feel for him winning the belt here. And he's been a guy that when he, like, the well-booked Trick Williams finishes, like do you remember that stipulation? I don't know if you recall it. The Iron Survivor. You found that one?
I'm quite fond of it, yeah.
Like an all-time this era NXT finish.
It was unbelievable.
Trick Williams doing that one.
Yeah.
Like one of the best things Shawn Michaels has ever crafted creatively. I'm not seeing
Greatest new match type in wrestling, people are saying.
I'm not seeing Trick Williams as a top guy. And I want to. Because he's got so much of what I love.
Well, let us know your thoughts on NXT's debut and C-Dub in the comments, or on X at WhatCulture WWE. Where actually, you can follow all three of us. You can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
Follow Michael Sidgwick at
Sidgwick.
follow our brilliant producer at It's Adam Nicholas. Follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE. As I said, make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. The AEW Dynamite preview is available right now, but for now, this has been the NXT review. My thanks to Hamflett, to Sidgwick, to Stax. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.